Welcome back to the Real Screen Team. I'm Andrew Thomas. I'm here with my partner in crime, Christopher Johnson.
Hello, everyone.
And here we're doing a new segment called In Hindsight. And what's our movie that we're doing in hindsight about, Chris?
Well, we're looking at The Karate Kid, but not just the first Karate Kid movie. We're looking at the trilogy. And why are we doing that?
We're doing that because of the Cobra Kai movies coming out. Shows. We're doing that because the Cobra Kai show is coming out on Netflix, mainly season 3, and we decided to go recap everything that's happened. So if you have Netflix or you're planning on watching it anytime soon, you do need a recap of the first 3 movies because they reference a lot of the first 3 movies.
And don't worry, we are going to discuss seasons 1 and 2 of Cobra Kai. Might have to wait a little while.
Yeah.
We're waiting until season 3 has been announced before we go ahead and review those seasons.
So Chris went discuss the making of Karate Kid, the Karate Kid overview.
Okay. The Karate Kid is an American martial arts multimedia franchise created by screenwriter Robert Mark Kamen. The franchise, starring actors Ralph Macchio and Noriyuki Pat Morita, began with The Karate Kid in 1984 and was followed by film sequels The Karate Kid Part 2 in 1986, The Karate Kid Part 3 in 1990, and The Next Karate Kid in 1994. The success of the franchise spawned an animated television series in 1989, and now a new live-action series called Cobra Kai that serves as a sequel to the films starting in 2018 and continuing its run to the present.
So,
and just to let everyone know, we're not discussing the next Karate Kid. No offense to Hilary Swank. Hey, big fan of some of her work. But the creators of Cobra Kai have not brought up anything involving the next Karate Kid. So,
unless they are hoping they'll pay Hilary Swank a lot of money to go to do this season.
I mean, well, yeah.
So she's kind of out of it unless she goes cheap on that one. Or they just recast the role.
But then again, would anyone want to even somewhat discuss that movie?
No.
That could be a future in hindsight just on its own.
Yeah. Alright. So, want to discuss how we got into the Karate Kid?
Well, growing up in elementary school and middle school, I was actually in karate. Made it as far as green belt. And through studying karate, I was introduced to some films, and The Karate Kid was one of them. And the first time I saw it, I loved it. It and its sequels, parts 2 and 3, were main fixtures of watching for a long time in my household due to my time in karate.
Well, I sadly got introduced to it through the next Karate Kid, unfortunately. Mainly because I was mainly watching Power Rangers at the time, so I was mainly watching all that other stuff, and I was just flipping through channels, and I found that the next Karate Kid was the movie that we were saying that we're not going to talk about. But then I started watching other movies, watching the older movie.
Of all films, the next Karate Kid was your introduction.
Sadly, yes.
Oh dear Lord. Oh good Lord.
That's as far as I can remember is the next Karate. When I was introduced, was the next Karate Kid.
Oh no. Thank the Lord I introduced you to these films. Yeah. Now you know that they actually are good.
Yep. But let's go into part 1 of our 3-part video.
Well, yeah, let's get into The Karate Kid. The Karate Kid starts off with, Daniel and his mom, Lucille LaRusso, moved from Newark, New Jersey to Reseda, Los Angeles, California. Daniel's mom just got a new job and a better opportunity for her and Daniel to make a pretty decent living. Initially, Daniel isn't too fond of moving to a new place, but things initially start off pretty nicely. Meets a new friend, makes new friends when going to this party at the beach, and catches the eye of one very attractive young girl named Allie Mills. And things look like they're on the up and up. That is until Allie's ex-boyfriend and his friends show up. Ah yes, Johnny Lawrence and his crew, Cobra Kai. And from the minute Daniel and Johnny met, they absolutely despised each other. And it becomes Johnny's mission to make Daniel LaRusso's life a living nightmare.
Yeah.
Whether it's beating him down on the beach, him just casually riding his bike home, and here comes Johnny and the Cobra Kai crew deciding to kick him while he's on his bike down a rocky hill.
Yeah.
Or, after Daniel gets much needed revenge on Johnny by pouring a water hose on him in the bathroom during the Halloween dance, beats him down in the rear side of his apartment complex. But fortunately, Daniel had a guardian angel looking after him. And that guardian angel was the maintenance man of his apartment complex, Mr. Miyagi. And after saving Daniel while he was getting beat down, Mr. Miyagi leapt into action and took care of Cobra Kai. And decided to go ahead and bring Daniel under his wing. And teach him the Miyagi-Do karate.
We also get introduced to Cobra Kai in this movie also, which plays a prominent role in the Cobra Kai series in general. And karate in the whole trilogy in general. Well, okay. 2 out of 3 of the trilogy in general.
Yeah. Now, initially, the Miyagi-Do form of karate is a bit unconventional.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Essentially, Mr. Miyagi has Daniel doing chores. But the chores have an ulterior motive. They're, 1, to teach Daniel discipline. And 2, they're actually teaching him the moves of karate. Wax on, wax off. Paint the fence. And once Daniel realizes this, it's on the up and up. And he decides that he wants to continue to train. But before that can go any further, Mr. Miyagi decides to go and pay Cobra Kai a visit. And particularly talk to Johnny and his crew's sensei, John Kreese. Now, Miyagi and Kreese essentially make a deal that Johnny and his friends will leave Daniel alone so he can train for the All-Valley Under-18 martial arts tournament. So, pretty much everyone's at cold at Cold War mode, so everyone can train and get ready. Then once the tournament's up and running, all bets are off.
Which we see in the tournament.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
some of it's basically Kreese's idea. Most of it's Kreese's idea because even some of the bullies have their conscience. Most of them, anyway.
Yeah. You really start to see that as the tournament goes along.
Yeah.
But at least he was willing to agree upon it.
Yeah.
And
the only sensible thing Kreese has ever done is, it seems like, in the first movie only.
Definitely. And of course, we see Daniel learn the trade of karate. I mean, some of it's a bit easier than others, but we really get to see him develop. Not just as a martial artist, but as a person, thanks to Mr. Miyagi being in his life. Because he's not only his sensei, Miyagi essentially becomes a father figure Daniel always needed. I mean, Miyagi was the one who gave Daniel his first car. That sweet yellow convertible. And plus, he also helped Daniel in kind of gaining the courage into pursuing a relationship with Allie. Which, of course, as any teenage romance, has its ups and downs. Yeah. But overall, it's actually a rather nice relationship. Especially during their date at Game and Stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. Golf and stuff.
And then we cut to the actual climax of the movie.
Ah, yes, the All Valley Tournament. This is Daniel's first time in actually utilizing his karate. And initially he's a bit scared, but it actually works out.
Mm-hmm.
He does incredibly well.
And if you haven't seen the first movie, you kind of know what. And you also, because of the sequels, you already know what's about to happen.
Well,
pretty much.
I would like to say, go ahead and watch it for yourself to see how the tournament really plays out in its entirety.
Yeah.
But I can assure you, Daniel does get his vengeance on Cobra Kai. But how it happens, go ahead and watch it for yourself. I'm not going to spoil that.
Yeah. So, what do you think of the movies since we rewatched it?
My God, does this film still hold up?
Yes, it does. Except for how 80s the movie is.
True.
With the arcades and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there are some things that are of its time.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the film really does hold up. Character-wise, story-wise. It's something that anyone at any time can relate to and get invested to, no matter what year it is.
Yeah.
I have to give all the respect in the world for the whole cast, especially Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita.
Yeah.
I mean, Pat Morita was so good in this film. This man was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for the Academy Awards for his portrayal of Mr. Miyagi. This film is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Of course, it also sort of got him typecasted.
Yeah, it's
sadly,
kind of an unfortunate thing.
Yeah, like every other person who does other stuff. And they get successful at one thing, they do. People just think of them as just that one thing.
But why don't we go into more of a discussion of the characters?
Yeah.
Before we go into anything else, we've got to talk about the villains.
Yeah.
My God. Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy.
Yeah.
Of course, we know of the absolute madman that is John Kreese,
Yeah.
their sensei. This man's a former war veteran, and his mentality is always thinking that someone's at war.
Yeah. And Marty Cove portrays him really nicely.
As over the top as Kreese tends to be, but it works. It works, and it's fantastic. You really have to have someone that charismatic to be that absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And of course, you got to give it up for his students of Cobra Kai. I mean, you have Tommy. He's the jokester. He's the one that's always laughing and making jokes about what's going on. You've got Bobby, who's actually the voice of reason. He's the one that actually... He was the first one to actually give Daniel some respect. And he was the one that... when everybody was beating down Daniel, he was like, okay, come on, guys. Stop. And then there's Dutch.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Dutch. The dude's a borderline psycho. Apparently some things have been going on where he's not all there. He's way too intense for being a part of some tournament involving karate in Los Angeles, California. But it's also very cool. He is a cool individual despite not knowing too much about him. And then, of course, there's Johnny Lawrence.
Yep.
The rich spoiled delinquent that we all love and love to hate.
Yep.
Kid has a major chip on his shoulder. Mainly because his girlfriend, Allie, dumped him. And he's so desperate to get her back.
Yep.
And there's also another reason why he has that major chip, but that's something we'll go more into for Cobra Kai.
Yeah, especially Cobra Kai. They give more of a backstory of what Johnny's been going through.
And, of course, what happens to the whole crew many years later.
Yeah. But right now we're just talking about the first movie, so we can't spoil anything until we get to our Cobra Kai review. Where are they now?
But I have to give William Zabka, who played Johnny, Chad McQueen as Dutch, Ron Thomas as Bobby, and the late Rob Garrison as Tommy, all the credit in the world for their portrayal of their characters. They help essentially create the 80s bully archetype that most people know of. And in my opinion, they're the ones that did it the best.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought the movie was really good, and you could kind of see how. But even though the movie was mainly focused on Daniel, you could see that, and you could also see that the Cobra Kai actually had more of a conscience later on during the movie, even though it didn't start out that way.
Yeah, because as the tournament goes along and things get much more intense, you start to see some of the members really gain a conscience. Which is something you don't tend to see often with bullies.
Yeah.
In, films.
Yeah.
That, deep down they're human too.
Yeah.
As horrible of the things that they do, even the bully can gain a conscience. Now, Elizabeth Shue is Allie.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Shue actually did a pretty good job,
She was cute back in the day.
Yeah. I kind of have my issues with Allie, but maybe that's just because of the fact that both her and Daniel are teenagers.
Yeah.
The kind of little on and off, will they, won't they, of actually being in a relationship,
It did kind of get old a little bit here and there.
And also the fact of she doesn't fully acknowledge the fact that she's kind of the linchpin of why all of this is happening to Daniel.
Yeah.
Most of this is happening is because Johnny is not over Allie. If she can just go ahead and say enough of this, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Yeah. But in the end, I think maybe this was a lesson everybody needed to learn. Especially for our main character, Daniel LaRusso. Yeah. Ralph Macchio is in top form in this. Yeah. Absolutely. This is...
I was wondering if this was before, like, The Outsiders or...
Oh, this was after.
Yeah.
The Outsiders. The Outsiders was the introduction.
I forgot that he was in the Outsiders movie, because I did read the book and watch the movie with them in.
Same here. I have to admit, it did make me cry.
Yeah.
Thus proving more of how good of an actor Ralph Macchio is.
Yeah.
But Daniel LaRusso is truly a kid that you can root for.
Yeah.
He's the underdog. I mean, he's a three-dimensional character. There are some things maybe he shouldn't have done or he should have done better. Yeah. He's not a perfect kid. But we see him go from being this downtrodden kid into an independent young man that you can really look up to. And Ralph Macchio was perfect in portraying that.
Yep. And then let's talk about the music.
Yes, the music.
My favorite song, Cruel Summer.
By Bananarama.
Yep.
I mean, this whole movie had a fantastic soundtrack.
Yep.
I mean, from Cruel Summer by Bananarama, the sports montage song to end all sports montage songs, You're the Best Around, by Joe Esposito. Mm-hmm. Just French kisses all around. That is one of the best songs in that film besides Cruel Summer. Plus, there's also other great songs like Feel the Night by Baxter Robertson and The Ride by The Matches that really give that, that hype and nice 80s feel.
Yep. But Cruel Summer will always be my favorite. That's why I've listened to so many covers of Cruel Summer. Even when it's not summer anymore, I still listen to that song.
I have to agree. I listened to it my fair share over this time.
Yep. And should we present our scores for the movie?
Well, yeah. Why don't you go first?
Okay. Well, in a first, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, since I hardly give anything an 8 out of 10 by this point. Mainly because I like the plot, and it was good, and it's also foreshadowing a lot of things that happen in Cobra Kai, so that's why I gave it an 8 out of 10.
For me, I'm sorry, I love this film too much. I gotta give it a 9 out of 10. I've got to. This film is a classic. It's a classic of the 80s. It's a classic that everyone needs to see at some point in their lives. I love this film. It's very near and dear to my heart. I love this film. And I highly recommend people to go sit down and watch this. Especially if you plan on watching Cobra Kai. This lays the groundwork for that whole series. Definitely watch it.
and stay tuned for part 2 of our 3-part video. And Chris, what do you want to say to our review?
Well, thank you all for watching. Definitely come back for part 2 as we dive into the Karate Kid part 2. Definitely look us up on Facebook and on YouTube, The Real Screen Team. Definitely like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you all have enjoyed this. Let's fade to black.